Labour weekend, Auckland, New Zealand, and the annual convergence on Turner's car auction rooms in Penrose is bigger and brighter than any year before. This is no ordinary motoring event, and this is no ordinary year, for this is the 10th anniversary of the premier event on New Zealand's motor racing calendar. For many of the record 240 field, it'll be their first experience of this unique tarmac road race. For 22, it's the 10th time they will have backed up. And for just 2, they're 10th in the same car. Now that's dedication.
This is the 95 badge just here, and Mike John said he'd have another one. We kind of just kept on going in the same car. It's a 40-year-old car this year. It's 1,000 cc's, weighs with driver and crew about 900 kilos, so it's quite a heavy car. And what we love is finishing ahead of half the field, and if we can harass a few Porsches on the way, it's wonderful.
When I first saw the idea, I thought I had to be part of this. It's something pretty blooming special, and it is. It's really special, something extra special.
What's changed for you in 10 years?
Cars have got a lot faster. We used to finish in the top 15, 20. Now we're 50th, 60th, but it's still a magic event.
Mel Clark's been in all 10, but not in the same car. But then he has built more than 60 cars for competitors over the years, so finding time to build his own is always difficult.
Well, we've prepared 15 cars for this year's event, and so it's taken a while to get this one done because of that reason. So we're pretty involved in that side of the thing.
So what kind of history does his Rover V8 have?
Well, it really hasn't got any just yet. Hopefully it'll have some at the end of the week, and hope it's all good. Hope I don't see you guys on the side of the road too much.
We'll be the judge of that, Mel. Nelson Marshall has missed one event in the last decade, but his trusty Ford Capri hasn't.
It's only failed to finish once in those 10 years. We had a small problem with the engine, which was terminal.
Now, speaking of terminal problems, the event organiser.
Okay, chaps, this is for 10 years, so there's not too many of these.
How many?
Only 2 of you have done them in the same car, but believe it or not, there's 22 people.
Really?
Yeah, and then there's about 15 officials, so it's not bad. You're all mad.
If they're mad, Mike, why do they keep coming back in droves?
Definitely been drinking, mate.
They see it as a challenge, and that's it, and we make it reasonably easy for them, and we let anything run, providing it's got all the safety in. So I think they just like it, and the camaraderie and all that sort of thing.
And let's not forget the rubber. Dunlop, like their product, sticks to the road that once a year leads out of Auckland, bound for a finish later in the last week of October. Their reward, sales and exposure to burn. Sunday is the last chance for the official test run, a prologue of 3 stages to gauge just how quick you really are. It's also a chance to dial your head in, settle your nerves, and hopefully keep the red mist at bay. Former New Zealand rally champion Neil Allport, well remembered for his escapades in his famous Ford Escort, is setting the early pace in the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 8. Neil did the first Targa back in '95 in the Zero car and hasn't been back since. So how seriously is he looking for a win in his first competitive Dunlop Targa?
That's what I'd like to do, and is obviously win the event. There's a lot of unknowns here for us though, you know, so many different cars, driver combinations, and 900 kilometres, so you just can't underestimate the event, and I think that's what we've got to get our head around quickly.
By the looks of things, Neil hasn't lost his touch and isn't wasting any time getting his head and the car into top gear. But the 2002 winner of this event reckons he's the quickest.
I was interviewed the other day on a program, and I said basically that. I think we're the fastest in tarmac in New Zealand, and Jim obviously in Australia, so yes, it's down under decider, as you put it.
A down under decider, eh? That means the Aussies are coming. Seems their cars are here, but the drivers are still dealing to the support races of the Indy 300 weekend on the Gold Coast. Leading the charge from across the ditch will be reigning champion Tony Quinn in his turbo Porsche four-wheel drive. And despite the warnings of organiser Mike John that you'd have to be stupid to go off in the Prologue, some just can't help themselves. But in fairness to Brett Porter, that wasn't really avoidable.
Disastrous. It's a perfectly cambered right-hand sweeper. And what happened is we've just found out that the accelerator jammed behind the roll cage, and instead of slowing down in the corner, it just took off. There was nothing we could do.
For the other 238 competitors, day one dawns bright and hopeful. Wellington beckons, and the first of 9 special stages gets underway. The Aussies have finally turned up. Tony Quinn showing little sign that missing Prologue really mattered. Australia might claim this driver as their own, but Gentleman Jim is Kiwi through and through, and he's back in a Porsche GT3 for his second attempt at Targa. For Jim Richards, it doesn't matter what the race is, just so long as he is racing.
I like all sorts of racing. I've done NASCAR, I've done stock cars, I've done all sorts. So no, it's just another facet to the sport which I enjoy. We go into all events with no expectations at all, and we're never disappointed.
Now that's easy for Jim to say. He's won an astonishing 7 Targa Tasmanias. You better watch out, Anton. The action's about to heat up. And how's this for an early Kodak moment?
I hope you had your cameras on that left hand, mate. I just pulled it down gear a bit fast and it just had absolutely backed it in there. I thought, this is the end.
Peter Johnson's got the corner mastered in the GVI Peugeot. He'll be happy just to get to the end of the day.
It's still a sprint car. You know, they were made as sprint cars. Back in '84, they had helicopters following them with diffs and turbos and gearboxes to keep them going. So it's, you know, it's very hard to make it an endurance car. But hey, I love the character of the car, the character of the event, and that's why I run it. So, but it does bring me a bit of pain.
Not everyone's mastered the art of cornering, but don't they love it? Let's face it. If you're going to close their roads, at least turn it on for the locals. No problems, though, for Mr. Quick in the RX-7. Or is there?
We're halfway through the first stage, we lost power steer, so we lost it. We really haven't had it all day. It won't turn back on itself, you know, it's quite an unusual feeling. You've actually got to, you turn into the corner and then you've actually got to turn out of the corner. But you're used to it now. I don't know how much time I've lost at the moment, but I think it's quite significant. So, yeah, I just at the moment, chase mode again tomorrow.
It hasn't been plain sailing for one of New Zealand's premier yachtsmen. The pit stop is not where Grant Dalton wanted to be on day one.
Oh, I just blew the gearbox, basically. We're going really nicely. Stage 3, I think we're 5th overall and 2nd in class, and let go coming into a T intersection. So they put a new gearbox in it, but it's cost me a couple of stages, so quite a bit of time, but it's a long race. And, it's just part of it. It's not strong enough, basically.
And still in the pit stop, Mel. Fancy seeing you here.
Today we've had a bit of issues with a new car, and it's teething problems and things like that. So we broke a gear lever this morning. So we fixed the gear lever, and then the clutch started flaring in stage 3. and I thought it was me keeping my foot on the clutch. Maybe it was because we stuck in one gear during the first 2 stages. But now the clutch is slipping badly, so we're just pulling the gearbox out to have a look at the clutch and just see what's going on, which is up in here, and we've got to take headers and all sorts of things out of the car. It's quite a mission. It's very difficult to work on this part of the car, and that could have something to do with the guy that built it, I think.
Emma Gilmore is no woman driver. This young lady is a rising rally star and not frightened to try her hand at tarmac racing. And in her first Dunlop Targa as a driver, Emma has world champion cyclist Greg Henderson along for the ride. Judging by this, it might be a bit like riding the bar of Greg's bike.
Quite bumpy. Is it good for you? Bumpy roads.
The roads might be closed, but in some places, restrictions still apply to maintain an acceptable average speed through each stage. Through roadworks, drivers must adhere to the posted speeds. Once past the roadworks, it's back to business as usual.
Years ago, we used to have minimum and maximum times and all that sort of thing, and really it ceased to become a full-out competition, and the demand was, let us go. So now we have to find roads where they can go at, but it's still within FIA speed restrictions. But this is an experiment. If this year doesn't work, well, we'll look at something else. Go!
The Dunlops are good, but some of these guys really are expecting too much. Like a chip off the old block, Stephen Richards powers the WRX Impreza as you'd expect. But it's Stephen's dad who finishes the day on top as the Targa entourage converges on New Plymouth for the first time in the event's history.
Left onto this long single lane bridge and then right at the end of it.
The defending champion Tony Quinn is 38 seconds behind Richards, with Neil Allport hanging on for third outright.
I was hoping for a bit more wet weather, to be honest, because that's really going to be the only thing that's going to save my bacon here. We're just tapped out here in the dry, trying to hang on to these Porsches, and unfortunately it's just starting to burn the car up, you know, the tyres and the brakes. So we're going to make a decision as to whether we're going to keep pushing this hard to try and hang on to them, or we're going to back off, and I'm not sure what we're going to do yet.
The remaining top 10 looks like this. Expat Gavin Riches, back from the States, is fourth outright, almost a minute behind, with a lead of 30 seconds over Mike Delmont and his Turbo 2002. Will Sellis is staying in touch in sixth outright, with PJ content to be in the top 10 after day one. Nothing separates Russell Kempnich and Steve Richards, with Mark Parsons' classic TR8 rounding out the top 10.
Happy birthday, Targa. Wonderful 10 years so far. Let's do the next 10 years even better. Thank you.
Happy 10th to Targa. I don't know how you're going to match this year's one.
When Dunlop Targa New Zealand first hit the roads a decade ago, there were just 7 to 8 special stages a day, and in between it was a quick tour, more compact than now. But it was an eye-opener for the 79 competitors, and the stage was set for a decade of tarmac racing to come. If it's Tuesday, it's Taranaki and day 2. 130 kilometres of special stages today and some jumps. Did I warn you about the jumps? With all the time spent of the year, some of these guys should have had pilot's licenses. In 900 kilometres of special stages in Dunlop Targa, preserving tyres is the name of the game. Brake lockups cause flat spots, which are not good for the rubber. But then, neither is this. Laying rubber is actually counterproductive to winning Targa. From the looks of things, there's plenty who have little desire to win. Counterproductivity seems to be the name of the game, but there's an art to laying rubber with style, and Ashton Wood is the master. Mike Vincent isn't 16, and no, he wasn't illegal street dragging last night, but you'd be forgiven for thinking otherwise. Good on you, Mike. But the serious end of the pack is having trouble too. Neil Orport struggling with an unbalanced electronic traction control in the four-wheel drive Evo 8. What does that mean exactly? I'm not too sure, but it sounds like a great excuse. And let's face it, it'll take more than this to stop an old rally pro from charging down his first competitive Targa. Steve Millen is a tarmac racing regular. The champion expat's love for Dunlop Targa sees him behind the wheel of the Turbo XR6 Falcon for the 4th year now. But the fire in his belly is matched by the fire under the bonnet today, and his placings take a dive accordingly. And speaking of taking a dive, this looks like a pretty serious one.
Too fast, back gave way, hit the bank, and it flicked onto its side. If we're lucky, we'll better get it onto its wheels, and if it'll start, we'll keep driving.
How's it off?
Part of the game.
Obviously, no condition is terminal for Dr. Nick and his 71 Charger. They just don't make him like that anymore. It's the defending champion Aussie Tony Quinn who's the man to beat today though, hunting down event leader Gentleman Jim. But there's nothing gentlemanly about Neil Orport's intentions with Gavin Riches as he holds on to third outright. Move it or lose it, Gav. You can get off the horn now, Neil. You'll just have to be content with 4th for now, Gav. Every year, PJ's battle with his French rally car are of Napoleonic proportions, but so far he has the upper hand with his Peugeot, despite a turbo pipe blowing off earlier in the day. Things have been uphill all day for Mr. Quick Anton Tallet as he battles to get back in touch with the leaders. He'll be looking for any advantage his new sequential 6-speed can give him. Giant killer Joe McAndrew, fresh from a win in the recent London-Sydney Marathon, has done nothing more than change the oil in the Honda Integra R. And proving almost any car can make the top 10, Mike Delmont in his 71 factory BMW Turbo 2002. Also in the top 10, Steve Richards in his super cheap WRX, only it's 30 years newer than Delmont's BM. Almost anything goes in Targa. Take this 1985 Toyota Sprinter, a combination of old body and new running gear.
We've got a Lexus V8 in it. We've just put mild cams in it, 20-valve throttle bodies on it, so it's got 8 throttle bodies, built a set of headers on it. The motor other than that's pretty stock. Link plus computer, super gearbox, and highest van diff with 4:3 ratio.
Acid Rush or something like that. It's actually a Ford Falcon colour.
I told him don't paint it blue, so then he came up with this. Because I said yellow cars actually get better film coverage.
That's a good plan, and it seems to be working so far. I hope the check's in the mail. So in time terms, the top 10 looks like this after day 2. Defending champ Tony Quinn, on a combined time of 1 hour 56 minutes and 9 seconds, holds the narrowest of leads over Jim Richards with Neil Allport in 3rd. Gavin Richards maintains 4th, but a hard-charging PJ has moved up 2 spots in the Peugeot. Anton Tallet's return to the top 10 after a disastrous start sees him just a second in front of Steve Richards. Will Sellis is being chased down by Mark Parsons, with Russell Kipnich just holding on to his top 10 space.
We just hope it happens for another 10 years. We love it, we enjoy it, and encourage anybody else to join the Targa Festival.
Hey, happy 10th birthday, Targa! 4, 3, 2,
1. Dunlop Targa competitors are a loyal lot. Take Maurice Shapley, who drove his 74 Monaro for donkey's years. Morris is so passionate about the General's Monaros, he built a new one for this anniversary event.
Basically, the engine's dead standard, but we've just increased the capacity of the sump. We thought the engine had plenty of power. It's probably about 250 kilowatts. We've put a button clutch in it, heavier drive shaft. We've put a CAS limited diff centre in it, which gives us virtually a lock setup, and we've got a Harrop rear hat. That's all gear that Peter ran as well, and the beauty of that is it gives us a lot more support in the rear, and we're allowed to run a lot more oil. We've sort of themed it a bit for endurance racing, and of course the Targa is the biggest enduro you get in a rally.
Shapley is typical of racing enthusiasts around the country, driving their car of choice in an event designed for anyone.
1.6
Definitely bitten by the bug is 10-year veteran Mike Lowe. No greater contrast exists from Shapley's powerful V8 than Lowe's tiny Abarth. Believe it or not, Mike and his 6-foot frame do fit in the Bambina, but not much else does. Even the engine doesn't seem to fit. And the onboard camera, well, as you can see, we had to put that on the roof. Surely such a small car must be hard to keep together in a long-distance race like this one.
Well, I think the preparation's the big one. The engine itself is in what we call a rally tune, so it's not completely a competition engine. And, you know, make sure everything's ready, bolts together properly, and make sure you start on those excellent condition and you can start easy, so that's fine. We've pulled everything off again tonight, and we'll just check it, put it back together again. Tomorrow will be, you know, my job tomorrow again.
When Dunlop Targa first ran these roads a decade ago, Barry Kirkbird was a certain top 10 contender in his Lotus Cortina. But times have changed. He's still leading his class, but the competition is much keener now. And he'll be lucky to make the top 100 in outright terms. There's always a certain amount of luck in motor racing, and Lady Luck is shining on Nelson Marshall's Capri toward the end of Special Stage 21.
How often do you drive into a car park and find the front wheel drop off after having been 200, well, almost 200 k's down the straights of the previous stage? I mean, that's amazing.
Any idea why it's done it?
Old age, I think.
Old age, yeah, but what about the car, Nelson? We all know what newcomers are, but what are all-comers? All-comers are newcomers to Dunlop Targa this year, a class introduced to allow the hot classic and post-classic cars to race each other, rather than the more standard classics. Auckland's Rex Alder is charging hard at his Toyota AE86, chasing down Ashton Wood. But both are on the edge and under pressure to catch class leader Mark Parsons. For Ashton Wood, the task of racing his Escort is especially difficult. He has just one finger on his right hand, stemming from an industrial accident several years ago, and his car has been modified to suit.
It's an electric power steering system, uses the original steering rack, and it's out of an Opel. We first heard about it when Colin McRae put one in his brand new BDA he built. So the man recommended it for me to have a go, and it's perfect. It weighs about 12 kgs. So the weight is a disadvantage, but I couldn't do it without it, so.
Early modern category has been dominated by the MR2 of Colin Meadows, but the ever-consistent and fast Carol Liston in her CRX is keeping him honest. Carol is the leading female driver, but the rising rally star Emma Gilmore is taking her lesser-powered Suzuki Ignis to its limits.
Coming up, goes to the right, so to left, corner Tyson's.
Co-driver Greg Henderson's on his bike racing in the Tour of Southland today, so Emma's mum has hopped in for a driving lesson. I just wonder who's teaching whom here.
Like it's tighter than a 9. Tighter than 90.
This morning's run has caused its share of mayhem. US-based Kiwi Gavin Riches, up as high as 5th outright yesterday, ponders what went wrong.
I don't know. Must have been just a screw-up. But we'll carry on. We'll see you guys in a while. We'll go have service and get to the next stage.
And almost on cue, PJ's luck, like his turbo, has turned turtle in the GVI Peugeot.
We lost boost somewhere, which is a bit of a shame because we've been going so well after the last 3 days. So it's a bit disappointing actually, because the gearbox is strong, the motor's strong, and now we've got a turbo problem. The last 3 days have been good. I love those Taranaki roads yesterday, and even the ones this morning, we were fast. We were running sort of top 4 or 5. So and doing it with ease. But it's been a fabulous event, and it's just lovely to be here in Wanganui and around all these other lovely cars. So we'll just wait and see what happens.
And what's been happening for Steve Millen then?
2 stages ago the car was great. We went through there really quick. The handling was good and the braking was good, but we got into the next stage and I could tell right away in the first couple of corners that there was a real problem with the brakes. So I was taking it a bit easy anyway. We came to an intersection, it just wouldn't stop, went ploughed straight through and through a bunch of just tape, which was quite not a problem. Backed out of there and got going again. I was just sort of taking it easy through, and we came down a hill, we go left onto a bridge, and applied the brakes really early, but nothing. It just locked the rears and it skidded through a farmer's fence and big wooden rails and stuff, So it's a shame, because the Falcon's a good car, but just a little something in a master cylinder can cause a problem. It's not the Ford part, it's an aftermarket part. So really the Falcon's well suited to these roads because they're fast and flowing and high speed, but we're losing a bit of time right now.
As the third day of Dunlop Targa draws to a close, it's a chance to let your hair down at Manfield Racetrack. For those less concerned with tyre wear, this is playtime. And no one plays harder than Waioku's Chris Allen. 700 horsepower of heavily modified blue oval under the bonnet, and the tyres are bleeding rubber all over the track.
Mate, get out of my way.
Current title holder, champion in the event, and currently lying in
Ray Sanders has spent the last 4 Targas at the back of the field in his 4-cylinder Sunbeam Rapier. But all that's changed this year. He's got a V8.
This car was owned by a club member, and I decided that it was the most suitable one I could find to turn into a rally car. With this one, you just leave it in top gear or third and come around the corner and just plant your foot, point and squirt. It just goes. So it needs a little more development, but it's going very well at this stage.
What about the taillight, Ray?
Well, I can't give you a dramatic story about wiping out a fence post or anything like that. The people cleaning the car at the car wash happened to knock it off with their brush thing, so that was the end of the taillight.
But it's all for a good cause, Ray. Every gold coin dropped in a bucket anywhere along the route goes into the coffers, an important part of Dunlop Targa, working with local communities, schools and charities. On the leaderboard, there's been a change in the 2 top positions, with Tony Quinn surrendering his lead to both Jim Richards and Neil Allport. Gavin Richards' excursion has cost him dearly, especially with Mr. Quick, Anton Talent, clawing his way back into contention, and he's opened up a sizable lead over 5th Stephen Richards. Will Sellis has elevated himself to 6th, and London Sydney Marathon winner Joe McAndrew makes his first appearance on the Team Talk leaderboard along with Harry Dodson. Russell Kepnich consistently remains on the board, with Shane Merland grabbing the last spot.
Hey, well done.
The serenity of day 4 is broken by the dulcet tones of Sinard.
Can you wait? I've got a job to do. Hang on. 43, Patrick Robson.
Sinard, that's specially imported, noisy and rude Tasmanian.
For the last time, it's our 10th anniversary. Aren't you going to sing happy birthday to us? Oh, you pack of wackers, Wally.
Well, I'm very keen on gardening and I grow bonsai trees. And the first sport I was really interested in was archery. And after that came flying, and when flying got too expensive, I took up veteran athletics. Well, this is my first Targa. I got my national rally licence in July. Well, we've just had 2 days off. We had to go back to Rotorua from New Plymouth to put another gearbox in, and we just got back yesterday evening. And I've been looking through the route books and I'm feeling a bit nervous.
And here's another good-looking veteran that isn't showing her age.
It's actually done about 597,000 Ks.
So, has she had a facelift?
Just preventative maintenance. If something looks a little bit second-hand, replace it, and try and keep it on the road.
From hero to zero, thanks to pranks at Manfield.
Unfortunately, that's the second year in a row I've ended up on that same corner in the grass. It was a bit of a comedy, really, because we stopped backwards and I saw the other car right there, and I said, "Oh, come on, guys, give us a push." And he said, yeah, no problem, but you've got to push us first. Oh, no, you know. So we had no option. We had to get out, push them out, and they then were able to tow us. Obviously disappointed about the lack of a good result there outright, but last night I was thinking a little bit like maybe now the pressure's off, we can relax a bit and have a real bit of fun in the car, but maybe not just yet. We'll just see how today goes. Hey, we're enjoying Targa, and you've got to take the good with the bad.
Quite an interesting little package here, but you had problems yesterday.
Yeah, unfortunately we had a manifold wastegate break, cast piece, and unfortunate thing, it was the only part was manufactured in England, I think, and it broke off where it bolts onto, you know. So it cost us 6 stages. Unfortunately, it was the first stage of the day. It couldn't have been the last stage, but it was the first stage of the day, and yeah, it was disappointing, but never mind. You know, we're happy with how the car's going. The car's going fantastic, and we're out to enjoy the event. I suppose we can go a bit quicker now, I suppose.
What's this event like from a race car driver's perspective?
Oh, fantastic. It's great. It's a week of going fast on roads and having a great time, and also the team atmosphere with your crew and that sort of stuff. You know, it's always like long distance races because you've got a team atmosphere, and this is exactly that, you know. But it's a real neat event, and we're really enjoying it, you know. It's our first crack at the Targa. We did the Targa Mambina in '96 and have a go at the 5-day or 6-day this year, you know, 900 Ks. It's been really good. We've really enjoyed it.
The long arm of the law watches over Dunlop Targa every year, and this year is no exception.
We've been screening the drivers, and we haven't had any positive results.
We're off again, we're back in, and we're off. We're doing it.
If there's one car that's the new car of choice for Dunlop Targa these days, it seems to be the Integra R. Maybe it was Joe McAndrew's crowning moment in the London-Sydney Marathon. Or maybe it was young Preston Johnson's improved performance when he got behind the wheel of his own Integra R. Whatever it was enough to convince Bill Williams to lease one himself and join the growing list of converts.
Now watch the road, not Preston. Top up here goes left, I believe.
Very reliable, as they proved. This car came second in the London to Sydney rally recently in the hands of Mike Montgomery, and very, very reliable. It's a modern car, 2001, so you know, can target a lot of older cars, and modern cars are great. There's just a lot of clever things about modern cars that you just can't build into older cars, and I'm just learning to the limits of the car. The car's got very high limits for adhesion and handling and drivability. Again, proven by the fact that they were first, second and third in the London to Sydney. Joe McAndrew is doing very well in the Targa. He's probably in the top 10. He came first. This car came second, and Shane Merland, who's also in this event, with the same car came third. So he got all those cars in the event, but I wasn't in the London to Sydney, unfortunately.
And unfortunately for Bill, the London Sydney must have taken its toll, and his hired Honda expires later in the day. But Smokin' Joe is doing just that, keeping himself in touch in the top 10.
rockers or a rocker might have broken, or
just lost power. Lost full speed. Yeah, couldn't power it.
Don't worry, Jamie. The beauty of Targa is that cars just seem to bounce back. Look, see what I mean? Isn't that Dr. Nick? Come on, Jamie. Follow the good doctor. We're off to Hastings.
Dave's been driving pretty cautiously and start out the day, and the car's been going really strong, so we decided to push a bit this morning, and he had a really good stage before and felt comfortable and decided to go for it, and yeah, we ended up took down here, but it's the only time we've come close to crashing, and we actually crashed, so it's a bit of a bummer.
We did pretty well though, we're walking away and that's what matters.
Yeah, it's good, yeah. So what's your plans from here on for the day?
Push.
And Neil Allport is pushing too, pushing on past Tony Quinn, who suffered a time penalty for exceeding 200 kilometres per hour, the mandatory limit imposed to contain average speeds. Meantime, with better brakes, Steve Millen is able to push the average speed and remain in control of the Team Talk XR6. Pushing a little too hard is Clive Newman, gathering up the Z just in the nick of time. But pushing way too hard is Lionel Rogers in his Navman Z. Don't worry, Lionel, help's on the way.
I think we're all okay. We came up the hill and we passed the Falcon GT, yellow one, and it came into the corner too hot. Ran out of skill at the wrong time and backed it in actually. We came through backwards, spinning, and the front came down real heavy down here, and you can see the front's all buckled, the wheels are pointing different directions, so she's not going to go any further. I'm just sorry for Leanne because
no, that's okay.
She's had a crook old time of it a couple of times, and we were hoping to get to the end, you know. It's not a shame. It's done 9 Targas. This is that car's 10th Targa, and I haven't dented it like this before. I've touched the guard a couple of times and things like that. Bit of a shame to see it getting towed up there like that, I can tell you that. Poor bloody car.
Now, don't lose heart. There's still dozens more cars. And look, there's Chris Allen. Come on, Chris, give into it. Carol Liston is still the leading lady, but when it comes to partners, Anna Wood and Christine Dixon are becoming high maintenance for their respective husbands, Ashton and Ross.
Not on the last stage. We hit some gravel when we should have been doing 30 Ks and it was too late to turn.
In case the penny hasn't dropped, remember Ashton and Ross are running their own race in the Massport Escort. Let's hope they're not the service crew for their wives. The Manawatu is proud of its clean air energy policy. Sadly, Chris Trundle's RX-7 is not part of this policy. Now remember last year, Chris had the lean budget no frills Escort with a new $50 engine each day. Well, it looks like he's sticking with tradition. Different car, same old problems.
We seem to have been getting a mild amount of boost spike and have directly made all the boost lines just go from a wastegate to a vacuum line, so it's running standard boost. But that stage was 46 kilometres long, So the turbos, they glow red hot, and it's actually seems to have blown the compressor wheel off, and it's lost boost, and then in turn got even hotter and blown the oil seals in the turbo. Hence looks like a chimney or something like that.
Sorry, Chris, you sort of lost me there.
It's blown the thing that makes it go faster.
Must have caught, and then when it hit this one here, this is what took the front wheel out. Because when we got to about coming through here, I thought, oh yeah, we're right, we're saved. And then just from there on, it was gone. We came around the corner behind us and just cooked it a little bit. But when we caught the Armco, it took the left front wheel, and we had no steering after that. We almost had it saved until that happened, and after that, we were almost just there for the ride. And she was a pretty scary ride.
Up front, the race for first is getting interesting. Tony Quinn slips a place with his time penalty.
It's probably been a very, very bad day at the office for us. And we came off on the first bit of gravel and went up on two wheels. It was ugly, and luckily we landed. It broke the power steering lines and the clutch assist thing, whatever it is. So I've driven the rest of the day with no power steering and a very, very hard clutch. So it's been a real battle today, and I'm surprised to be still in third.
Anton Talert still on a charge, clawing his way back into contention after losing so much time on day one. His speed limiter indicator light almost permanently glowing, but the result is fourth outright, and the VIP Pet Foods Porsche is in his sights.
Jim Richards is very fast. I don't think we're going to be able to catch him, but certainly Tony Quinn is achievable.
Only time will tell, but there are still plenty of other considerations between here and Wellington, not the least of which is tyres. One thing's for certain though, our race leader Jim Richards always has a positive spin.
No, we're fine with tyres, no problem. These Porsches are great on their tyres, so 100,000 K, one set of tyres, no problem.
A big mover and shaker today was Jim's son Stephen, himself an accomplished driver in the discipline of tarmac racing. But like Neil Orport, he's hoping for rain where the four-wheel drives will shine.
We wouldn't mind a wet day, but obviously tomorrow's only a very short day as well. So, yeah, look, I think we'll be okay, but only time will tell. It depends on this stuff. It's quite abrasive in some spots, so but it looks to be all right.
Well, I'm going to be on slicks shortly, so I'll have to make some decision. But yeah, we're at a pretty critical point of the event. We have to decide what we're going to do with our tyres and what sort of an advantage we think we can get if we put new ones on now. Bearing in mind that it's supposed to be wet tomorrow, according to the weather forecast, and also the last day, so we'll have to see.
Lionel Rogers' Navman is guided back to the pit stop for urgent overnight repairs, and the leaderboard looks like this. Jim Richards has extended his lead over Neil Orport, and a 30-second penalty for speeding drops Quinn further behind. Consistent driving from Anton Talert and Stephen Richards mean they maintain their positions, as do Sellers, McAndrew and Dodson. Shane Merlin moves into 9th outright, and Peter Van Brugel joins the elite quickest 10 outright for the first time in 2004, driving his '94 Toyota Supra.
Happy 10th birthday, Targa!
Happy 10th birthday, Targa.
Happy Targa birthday. We've done 10 Targets between me and the car. I've done 8 and the car's done just about all of them as well. Some of my best memories of it are sharing a really good result. Second place outright with Greg Kirkman as XU1 back in the 96 Targa, and also sharing a lot of Targets with Mel Clark and so forth. And we've had a lot of really good support from all our friends and families, and we've had a great time. Thanks very much.
By the 5th day, the Dunlop Tiger casualty list is ever increasing, and you could be forgiven for wondering why you might risk your expensive car out here. Maybe that might explain the popularity of the Nava Tour, ideal for those who don't want to put their precious cars at risk to race full on, or simply want a taste of what Dunlop Tiger offers. also a great opportunity to introduce people to motor racing who might not otherwise get a chance to take part.
It certainly is a lot different to my day job. But I guess the only similarity is that I'm trying to still keep it on the straight and narrow like when I'm driving on the golf course.
Golf pro Phil Tautarangi is back for his second year in Targa, helping raise awareness for the Cure Kids cause. Dunlop Targa and the Navigators have pledged support again this year for the charity, aiming to raise money by various means. This year, as well as proceeds from the bottled water sales, teams have been encouraged to purchase bronze, silver and gold stickers.
Cure Kids was invited to become the official charity for the Targa Rally last year. Sue and Mike John very generously had met us the year before, saw what we did, and then they said we would very much like you to become the official charity. We are so delighted. Cure Kids funds medical research for children with life-threatening illnesses, those horrible illnesses like heart disease, cancer, cystic fibrosis, asthma that too many children do suffer from. This year we have a huge goal. It's $50,000, which is amazing, and we're way over halfway already.
The Navigator does have some advantages. Apart from stopping to watch many of the competition cars race, they too get to drive the special stages. But there's still time for a little motor-related sightseeing. The second last day is relatively relaxing by Targa standards, only 5 special stages. Conservation is the name of the game, but someone forgot to tell Classic leader Ian Mollison.
Yeah, we just headed into a left-hand corner, and all of a sudden I felt the front right drop and saw the front right-hand wheel take off in front of us, and I thought this is fairly serious. And then I saw the fence coming up and thought, oh well, that'll stop us. And all of a sudden we're looking at daylight, and I thought, oh, this is going to hurt, and it did.
Don't scratch the paint, eh?
There was a bit of air, there was a bump, there was a bit of roll, there was a bit of twist, and there was all sorts of things in there, yeah. And we sort of ended up on our side, roughly where you can see the car now. Yeah, a bit sore on the back of the rib cage, but other than that, I'm fine. It's a detriment to good race seats, good roll cage, and a good car. Pity we had to do it on Targa's 10th birthday, but hey, that's motor racing.
For those with a little more luck on their side, things are pretty much unchanged from yesterday, with everyone maintaining their positions. But a good performance in times for Stephen Richards is masked by a penalty for speeding and an extra 3 minutes for 2 new tyres, the price you pay for safety. The morning is likely to bring rain, and slicks are not an option for the younger Richards. And Joe McAndrew, well, he's just happy.
Happy birthday, Targa. Keep it up. It's spawned good racing and it's good roads.
It's been a long week. The longest Targa ever in distance is also the longest in days. And the longest of those is about to begin in the ultimate road race. 10 special stages from Hastings to Wellington. And then there's the weather. Unbelievably, after 700 kilometres of racing, there are still tight battles through the field. 5th placed Will Sellis, only just in front of Stephen Richards.
It's going to be a tremendous battle today. It's a very long day racing down to Wellington. We've got a 4-second margin between us and Steve Richards for 5th place, so we're going to be pushing very hard all the way.
The car's been absolutely fault-free. You know, we've really had a great run with it so far, so I'm very, absolutely ecstatic about that. Just trying to keep it clean and keep it smooth today and just finish off on a good note. We're battling a little bit for tyres, so we have to be a bit careful, but we'll wait and see how the day plays out.
A determined Neil Allport is looking to peg back the 1 minute 30 lead Jim Richards holds going into the last leg. With a staggering 30 seconds slashed off Richards' time on the first stage of the day, he looks set to take it all the way to the finish. Tyres are wearing thin, but so too is his patience. His eagerness to chase down Richards is becoming obsessive. more of the same for the next stage, but the Aucklander is in trouble. A lucky spin with no damage or real loss of time. But then, just moments later, this one will cost him dearly, and any chance of the outright title.
We had a very, very good first stage, and 30 seconds back off Jimmy, and it was definitely doable. You know, we were looking for half a second a kilometre. We got a second a kilometre off him in that stage, so we were confident. I don't think overconfident, but it was certainly looking good, but it's lost opportunity now.
Road goes left onto narrow bridge. Single caution goes left onto narrow bridge.
Allport's loss is Richard's gain. The resident Aussie can afford to ease off.
We won't probably try quite as hard, but you know, you don't want to lose concentration, and you never know what can happen. You know, you get a puncture or something, you know, so no, we'll be pressing on, yeah, just to keep a bit of pressure on everyone.
But the pressure is coming off everywhere. Allport's off lets Mr. Quick Anton Tallett through for an almost unchallenged third place. Allport's continuing spinning problems finally end his race once and for all in Special Stage 43.
That was all over in a second.
You know, we've got some problem with the centre diff in the car now, and just in that last stage, really easy corner again, small break before we turned in, and it just went round and round and parked itself in the trees.
Save the trees, pal.
John Penny and Jason Gill are in the trees as well, taking their Evo 6 off-road motocross style.
Just hit this ditch here, launched us, landed in here, then again at the bottom, done a flip and landed down there in the creek. That's the fuel tank now.
Will Sellers sneaks back into fourth after Stephen Richards' tyre penalty effectively gave him no chance of a top 3 place. With just 6 tyres allowed for the event, extra tyres come at a cost. 1 minute for the first additional tyre, then 2 minutes for each thereafter. But the new rubber hands him the fastest time outright in the last 3 stages. Windy Wellington lives up to its reputation as drivers converge on the capital. After 900 kilometres, 6 days and 10 years of Targa experience, Barry Kirkman brings his Lotus Cortina home to win the pre-classic class.
Well done, 10 out of 10.
It's hard to believe, it's been a long week, it's been a really long week, but the car's just gone really, really well. It's been faster than it's ever been and more reliable than it's ever been, and just a magic, magic week.
No class win this year for Mike Lowe, but the little Arbath still has a story to tell for another year.
Quintessential Targa. Started out with an exotic race engine, blitzing all our competition, blew the motor up, went to a wrecker, found a $50 Fiat Uno 45 horsepower motor in a wrecker, put it in the car, and here we are. That can't get better than that.
Ken Dobson wins the classic class in classic style in a Porsche 911. A good result this year also for Mark Wellington, taking out the post-classic class in another Porsche. The all-comers class has been one of the closest fought all week. In the end, Ashton Wood's Massport Escort swallows water and surrenders the class lead to the Chevette of John Kershaw.
No, but we blew the water
time, and it has been missing ever since.
It was the double for the ever-consistent Kershaw and wife Jane. The Works Vauxhall not only 7 minutes clear of Robbie Francevic, but taking out the coveted Performance Wheels Index of Performance, a complicated handicap system considered the ultimate prize by the purest Targa competitors. For Francevic, it is a first and a day to celebrate. After 4 Targas, his GTO muscle car has finally made the finish line, second in class. No one loses in Targa. Parsons goes home without a trophy this year, but the crowd wins as he continues to entertain right to the dying stages of the day.
Oh, I've always been a 15-year-old, I probably always will be. Yeah, we've got to have a little bit of fun.
Carol Liston is another double victor. In early modern class after a 6-day battle with Colin Meadows and an easy win in the women's title. Ian Jemmett scores another win for Honda in the modern class. After the longest Targa ever, Peter Johnson can hardly believe his luck. His Peugeot is still running. Can he make the finish? Nah, one of the greatest supporters of this event, with his best result ever, unbelievably crashes out in the penultimate special stage when a suspension mount breaks. Better luck next year, PJ. So the top 10 fastest outright in Dunlop Targa for 2004 looks like this. Gentleman Jim Richards takes out the 10th anniversary Dunlop Targa New Zealand, ahead of defending champion Tony Quinn. Anton Talent isn't quite quick enough this year and must be content with 3rd outright. A good performance considering his early engine problems. Consistency rewards Will Sellis with 4th ahead of Stephen Richards. Joe McAndrew is the first local home in the Integra R ahead of Harry Dodson. Shane Merlin and Peter Van Brugel 8th and 9th. Neil Johns rounds out the top 10 for another year. And the final word goes to the outright winner of the 2004 10th anniversary Dunlop Targa with typical gentlemanly modesty.
Well, yeah, I mean, we thought we had a chance, obviously, but I mean, we always go into these events with absolutely, you could say, no real goal in mind. I mean, it's too long to say, hey, we're going to go in this and we're going to win it. So if you go in with no preconceived idea of how you're going to go, then you're not disappointed at the end. So we're very, very happy to win. It's been a hard day. There's been some fantastic competition, and you know, we're there at the end, so it's good.